You may not need any of this video today if you are a home buying professional, but if you want some little added extra information that might help you get the W when you're trying to buy your next home, we have 3 L's for you. We're going to talk about those 3 L's to get you the W for any house you want anywhere. Spoiler alert, it is not a guarantee, but we're going to talk about what you do to get you in the best position possible. And we're going to get after it right after this. All right, I got my special sweatshirt on right there, the Central Virginia Criminal Justice Academy sweatshirt. This is going to come up a little later in the video. We're going to talk about that little experience I had today. But before we do move on and jump into the meat of things, let me please ask you to go ahead and give me a like or put a comment down below. Type in there where you're from. I like to see where people are watching from. Maybe what your experience was buying your last house or when you hope to buy your next house, something like that. And if you are up for it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'm kind of climbing up there in the subscriptions, and it's kind of cool to see the numbers go up. Doesn't really mean anything. I don't think it means anything as far as YouTube is concerned. I do think the likes and the comments mean something. So if you don't mind doing that, I would love it. If you're getting any value out of these videos at all, that would be awesome. And I am genuinely interested in where people are watching from, how you found the channel, that kind of thing. So we're going to talk today about the 3 L's. Is that even showing up? I'm looking at my screen. Which way is an L for you? Yeah. The 3 L's to get a W. And if you are looking for property in the Lynchburg, Virginia area, go ahead and hit me up at that number right there. You can send me a text, shoot me an email, even give me a call. As I've said before, I think I do eat, I do sleep. Even if I'm driving, I probably will answer your call hands-free, but there are times when I won't answer it, but I will call you back ASAP. So if you're looking at houses or property in or around the Lynchburg, Virginia area, Amherst County, Campbell County, Bedford County, Nelson County, down to the lake, up to Charlottesville, out to Farmville, wherever, hit me up. I'll be happy to help you and talk to you. It doesn't matter if you're just thinking about it, even questions about the process. And that's what some of this video is going to be about. Some of the early stages. What do we do to get ready? What's the process like? Kind of put your mind at ease. Again, if you're a professional home buyer out there, feel free to drop a comment and say, nah, you didn't think of this, or you might have messed up that. But I talk to people every single day about moving to in or around Lynchburg. I love real estate.
I love my kids. I love real estate. I love ceramics. I love my job. I love wrestling.
And the cool thing is, some of the people that I've had a chance to talk to and work with have become friends. We've been to each other's homes. We shared meals. We've done things together. So you don't have to do that. We don't have to get that touchy-feely, clingy, huggy, whatever. But you never know. If we hit it off, maybe we will. I'm going to give you the 3 L's right up front. It's going to be list, language, and loan. List, language, and loan. We're going to start with list. This might seem simple, but I have spoken to some people who maybe haven't thought about this or haven't thought about it in depth enough to think about what is on their list. What do they want? What is a must-have? What is a kind of desire? What is a cannot have? Let me give you an example of this. I showed a home to someone one day, and they loved everything about it. When we rolled into the house, there was a neighbor that had a dog that was going nuts, and I thought this dog was going to be a deal breaker. Nope. They loved everything about the house. When I left, they called me on the phone. They said, we want to put an offer in. Here are our numbers. I said, great. When I get home, I'll write it up. I got home, maybe an hour later, I got another call. They said, we can't do it. Any guesses why they can't do it? A cemetery behind the house. The backyard butted up against the cemetery, and the husband said, my wife just can't get over it. So I've had another client who had a bad experience with bamboo shoots, taking over the property, the yard, infringing on the house. And we do have some places around here that have bamboo growing around. So we were looking at a house that had bamboo, and they said, we like the house, just too concerned about that stinking bamboo. I also heard, I don't know this, I'm not a bamboo expert, but I heard you could pick a day, sit, grab a beer, drink your beer while you actually watch bamboo grow. I don't know if that's true, but they said you could actually see bamboo grow. That's how fast bamboo grows. So the list should have things that you want, things that you must have, things that you cannot have, you don't want to deal with. Now, maybe you just write those out. Maybe you do a vision board. Shout out to Bart and Amy. Maybe you do a vision board and you say, these things in the inner circle, these are our bare minimum, bare bones. This is what we got to have. Move out to that next level. These would be really nice to have. Move out to another level. This is like jackpot. We feel good.
This is really good. This is really good. My heart soars with the eagle's nest.
And I want you to feel that good. I want your heart to soar with the eagle's nest. Woo, we want to get you to that point. And I think we can do it. And one of the great tools to doing that is making this list. That does a couple things, and you can use this no matter where you are in the country or the world. It helps you narrow your focus. You know, if you're buying the house with someone else, you might make a list. You might want to do it separately. You make a list, they make a list, and then you say, well, shoot, you have this and I don't have that. Or you talk it out together as you're making your list. But either way, it makes you aware of what it is you're looking for, what it is you want. And it makes your realtor aware of it. Hopefully, if you're in the Lynchburg area, that's me. But if it's anyone, it helps them know, what do my client buyers want? What are they looking for? What do they need? What is a deal breaker? Now, let me give you an example here of something else that it'll help you with. It'll help you with how realistic your search is. When you have your list, you can take your list and you can compare it to the homes that are on the market or that have currently sold. So let's think about this. The MLS here for Lynchburg covers the city of Lynchburg, Amherst, Appomattox, Bedford County, Campbell County. I just looked today before I jumped on here and started making this video. If you want a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2 full bath, 3-bed, 2 full bath home, residential, single family, so not a townhouse, not a condo, in the Lynchburg area, and you're looking for $300,000 to $350,000. Today, there are 39 single family homes between $300,000 and $350,000, 3-bed, 2-bath. 39 of those on the market active today. Now, let's throw a little something in there. Let's say I need a garage. I need a garage. That number drops to 19 active single family residential homes. Now, let's say I got the garage, I got the 3 and 2. I need to have it all main level living. It's got to be all main level. I don't want the stairs. The number of active single family homes with that criteria drops to 8. Now, let's say I'm going to throw a basement in there. Let's put that on the must-have list. I need 3-bed, 2-bath, main level with a garage in the Lynchburg MLS, and I need a garage. That number drops to 4. You got 4 of those choices. So just think about that. It helps you understand when you're looking at your list, here's our price range, here's what we want. It's going to be narrowing down choices as you add things onto your list, but that's okay. Again, this is a big purchase, and you want to feel good about what you're doing. So you got to have your idea about what you need, what you want, what you absolutely don't want. And you and your realtor need to know what that is to make it an effective search for you. That's the first L. Now we're going to move to the second L, your loan. If you're paying cash, then this doesn't come into play. But if you're going to be using financing and getting a loan, this is a big deal. Number one, I think, is lists. 'Cause I think everyone really starts to do that. They start to make a list of what they want and what they don't want, and that just happens naturally. We don't think about this next step, but the next step really should be like a 1A. It's very close, and that is you want to get your lender lined up. You want to know who you're working with, and you want to know what you can afford. Now, I know I've talked about this before. You can shop rates, shop terms, shop lenders. But here's something interesting. If you have a real life person, like not someone on the internet where you're going and just punching in your numbers and it's giving you a pre-approval and you're emailing back and forth, whenever they respond, they respond. But if you have a real live person that you can pick up the phone and call, and if you have someone local, that can be a very big benefit to you. I had one deal where a listing agent, I was one of the buying agents. There were multiple offers. And the question that they had was, who's the lender? They want to know who the lender is. Why is that? Well, if you are not a home buying professional and you don't go around buying homes every other week, you may not know this, but not all lenders are created equal, just like not all realtors are created equal. And some may be slow to respond. Some may be a little rough to deal with if you're the other agent. Some may not get things done when they say they're going to get them done. So when listing agents are looking at where these approvals are coming from for financing homes, it can make a big deal if it's a lender that they know, that they've worked with, that's local. Here's another thing about having a local lender. This is part of this story right here. CVCJA, Central Virginia Criminal Justice Academy. When I moved here, when I retired from the Pennsylvania State Police, came down here, I had to go to the academy again to get the job where I wanted to get a job. And I had a great desk mate, and he just got, the guy I sat next to there. We shared desks. We were in a long table. He was my neighbor. And he just contacted me last week. And he said, JD, we're starting to look for a home. We're just thinking about it. I said, do you have a lender yet? He said, nope, just starting. He's like, are you listening to me?
Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think with fly, think.
Just started. Don't have anything done yet. So I said, okay, here are some options for you as far as being contacting a lender. He contacted a local lender here, went through the process, started to get approved, sent me a text a day later. Here's the house we want to go look at. Went to go look at the house. Said, we love the house. Let's put an offer in. We started to get an offer in, started to negotiate back and forth with the seller. And it actually was a house in that 3-bed, 2-bath, 3 to 350,000 range. It was one of the ones we took off the market. But here is the interesting point. The lender told me, JD, rates are going up. We need to get this thing locked in by 4:45 p.m. That's going to save your buyer a lot of money. Now, if you're on the internet just doing some kind of search on there and throwing in numbers and throwing in your name and you get approved, if you can get a hold of them night times, weekends, they're responsive, good for you. You can use whomever you want, whomever. You can use any lender you want, but it's important to be able to get in contact with them and for them to move quickly. We did get it done. CVCJA Brothers, he's a local sheriff's deputy. We got it done with the help of that lender. So that is an important point when you're talking about financing a home and using a lender. Here's something I know about this whole getting pre-approved. It's not always nice or fun. People have certain feelings about other people getting into their business and their finances and their debt and what they owe. At least I do. I know when we went to go get pre-approved, I thought, okay, late in the video, but let's fix that. When I went to get pre-approved, I was like, I know we have to do it, but I just don't like people looking into my stuff. It is essential. If you're going to buy a home, you have to do it. You have to get pre-approved. Now, me personally, I will usually, unless there's something that else comes into play, I'll usually show someone one house, one time if they're not pre-approved. But after that, I don't show them homes. And here is why. I don't want them falling in love with a home this is great. This is awesome. This is what we want. And then they can't afford it for some reason. I don't want to spend my time for sure driving all over the place, showing them homes they can't afford. And I don't think it's a very good job on my part to take you to homes that are not going to work for you. Now, why might they not work? If the only loan you can get is an FHA loan, a USDA loan, a VA loan, they're going to have certain requirements and criteria for that property, like no peeling paint, no holes in the wall, maybe a railing on a porch has to be there. It has to be livable. They're protecting you. Livable. Everyone's definition of livable is different, but it has to be livable. It has to meet certain criteria. And they are protecting you so that you don't get into a place that's falling apart, that's not worth it, that's going to take a lot of money to fix up. But there's certain criteria. Now, if you have a conventional loan, that's going to open up some things. You might be able to purchase some things more in the fixer-upper field. So it's important to know the type of loan that you have, and it's important to know the amount that you're approved for. And if you feel a little like, whew, I'm not feeling good about the process, I think maybe I'm not going to get approved, that's okay too. Go through the process, talk to that local lender, get everything out in the open, understand, hey, here's where we're in a little bit of a situation. Could be debt to income, could be how long you've been at your job. There could be a couple different factors here, but then you will know this is what I need to do to move forward. This is what I have to do. I can be ready in 3 months or 6 months, whatever that time frame is. I can be ready to move forward. You have that information and you're armed with what you need to do going forward. You know, when we take our head and kind of bury it in the sand and we don't want to look at it, it's not pleasant. We might have had some financial struggles. It doesn't go away. It's not going to fix itself immediately. And then what happens is if you don't talk to a lender, you might go through the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, hurting yourself and not doing anything to fix your situation and make it possible for you to buy a house. Again, I had this very similar situation with a client, went to get approved, couldn't do it. We were told, hey, look, in 9 months, if you do these things, you're going to be ready to roll. In 9 months, we stayed in contact the whole time, but then in 9 months, we clarified with the lender, we're ready to go, found a house that worked for them, got it done. They moved in a month or so ago. So it's possible. Not everything can happen right now, but it's possible to improve things to get it moving so that you're in the strongest position possible to get that W and win the house that you want. The other thing that lenders will tell you are things not to do. Don't go charging all this stuff on your credit card, buying new furniture. Don't go buy a new car. Even after you're approved and the contract's done and everything's good, don't roll up to closing in a new car you just bought to celebrate. That has happened. And guess what? They didn't get the house. They got the new car, but not the house. Because lenders will run your credit at different times. They'll look at your debt to income ratio at different times, and they can explain all this to you when you talk to them. Don't shrink your reserves. Don't take a whole bunch of money out of the bank to pay off that family member. Pay them off sometime. But if you owe that family member, that uncle or aunt or mom or dad or someone 10 grand, like, oh, I'm going to pay them off before we get the house. Don't shrink the reserves. Don't open a new line of credit to get your new Apple, MacBook Pro, whatever. Keep things just the way they are unless you talk to the lender and say, okay, we're on the road here. We're going to get pre-approved. We're going to buy this house, or we have been pre-approved. These are some things I'm thinking about. Can I do this? Can I do that? Should I wait? Talk to your lender. If you're talking to a lender right now who doesn't answer these questions for you, then you have the wrong lender. We got to get you connected with somebody else. I'm not a lender, so I'm not giving you official lending advice. I'm just telling you the benefits of talking to a lender so you know this, and we can be a team together. You, me, and your lender. We can understand what's going on and what the next step is. All right, that's 2 L's. We have list, we have lender. Now we're going to talk a little bit about language. Let's talk about language of an offer or a contract. Some of the language on here is going to be new to you if you're not a home buying professional. How can we make your offer as strong as possible? earnest money deposit, EMD, earnest money deposit. It's kind of like good faith money, telling a seller how serious you are about making this purchase. There is no required amount. It doesn't have to be 1%, 5%, 10%. It's normally not going to be 10%, but you should think in terms of 1%. Now, if you can only do $500 or you can only do $1,000, again, jumping back to that lender conversation, there are times when people can purchase homes, but they don't have a lot of money in reserve. So they can't put a lot of money towards the earnest money deposit. But if you can, you want to think in terms of at least 1% of the purchase price. That earnest money deposit is written right into the contract. The seller sees it. It could be part of the terms that the seller compares to other offers to decide which offer they're going to take. That earnest money deposit will be held in escrow, and if all things go well, that earnest money deposit will be credited towards the purchase at close. Now, if things don't go well, again, these are things we want to pay attention to in the contract itself. If you have a home inspection that you didn't like, and we write this all into the contract, what are the terms? What are the ways that we can terminate this contract legally and get our earnest money back? There are ways to do that. If your lender says, hey, your loan's going to be at X%, and all of a sudden something happens and you can't get a loan at X%, or you lose your job and you can't get approved, you can get that earnest money back. If you give earnest money, an agreed upon contract between seller and buyer, and then there's a number of days where you have to get that earnest money into escrow. And if you do that and then you breach the contract, not by one of the terms that is listed out in the contract, you just decide, I'm not buying that house. I changed my mind. Okay. I saw another house I like. I do like that car that I want to get instead. I'm just going to keep living here in the apartment and paying rent. I don't want the house. In situations like that, where you breach the contract, that earnest money may be kept in whole by the seller, because the seller has taken the time to take that house off the market. They've now listed it as pending. They may not be continuing to show it to people. So there's something in it for them if you breach the contract. But earnest money deposit is one term you'll want to know. Another term you're going to want to know is appraisal gap. If you're paying cash for a home, there's usually no appraisal. A cash buyer can say, I want to have an appraisal done, and I'm going to make this purchase contingent on it appraising at what I want it to appraise at. But normally they don't do that. If you're using a lender and a loan, there will be an appraisal done of the home almost 100% of the time. And the contract is written in such a way that says our purchase price, let's use that $350,000 mark. We wrote a contract, $350,000, everyone agreed. But then the lender is going to send an appraiser to the house, and the appraiser comes out and says, you know what, that house, based on what I'm seeing in the market and all around, that house is not worth 350. It's worth 340,000. Now we have a gap of $10,000. What happens? The contract is normally written up in terms that say the purchaser can either negotiate with the seller, they can continue on if they want to and cover that $10,000 gap, or they can walk away and terminate the contract. That's a legal right way to terminate a contract, and they'd get their earnest money back. But sometimes in a competitive situation, the seller might say, I need you to agree that you're going to cover up to $10,000 of an appraisal gap, or any amount of an appraisal gap, for me to accept this contract. Now, 12 months ago, that was going on all across the country. People with a lot of money and resources were bidding, offering well over list price, well over $50,000, $100,000, depending on the market you were in. And they were saying, I'll take care of the appraisal gap. Yeah, I'm going to pay $500,000, $600,000 for this house. I'm going to pay $700,000. What if only appraises for $650,000? Got it. I'll cover the appraisal gap. It's written right into the contract. But if we don't determine who that is or how that's going to work, that you're going to cover it all, it's generally handled one of those three ways. Purchaser can continue on, they can negotiate, or they can terminate. And finally, with the language, we're going to talk about closing costs. What are closing costs? Closing costs are generally the costs that are associated with your loan. So that lender Back to when you're shopping for that lender, talk about terms, talk about rates, talk about what's it cost for you to underwrite the loan or the administrative fees or whatever fees they have. Talk about all that. That's going to be in that final line item on the closing disclosure to say you need to bring this much money to closing. Could be generally about 3% of the purchase price. Think of it that way, about 3%. So if you need to bring 12,000, 15,000, 10,000, whatever that number is, those are closing costs that you as the purchaser using a loan are going to cover unless we get concessions from the seller. We can ask the seller, we'd like you to cover closing costs. We'd like you to cover 5,000 of them. We'd like you to cover 15,000 of them. We can ask them to do that. We can ask for concessions so that you might be able to buy down your interest rate using the concessions from the seller. The thing to consider here is if you're the only offer on the table, you might have a better chance of getting some closing costs covered by the seller. If you are one of multiple offers, and I just recently listed a house and we had 9 offers come in of all different levels, 9 offers. So how is the market today? Well, right today, while I'm making this video, depending on the home, it's still very strong. 9 offers. When people ask for closing costs, what do? We look at the net number. So if the house is listed at 300,000 and someone says, here, I'll give you 300,000, but I want 10,000 in closing costs back to me, then the net is really 290 to the seller. So that's something to consider. If you have the money to cover all your closing costs, maybe you don't need to ask for any back. We can talk about the different scenarios where you might ask for them back, but that's definitely a term you want to know about. So there it is, 3 L's to get you the W in your house search. And man, look at that. I'm very grateful for my classmate and desk mate and all the people out there doing law enforcement things. And I got to confess to you, today, a little cold out today. I got a little run in, but I also got a ticket because I was speeding down the road. One of my fellow brothers pulled me over. I felt bad about it. Here's what I don't want to feel bad about. I don't want to feel bad about you missing out an opportunity to find the house that you want. So if you're interested in looking for a home in the Lynchburg, Virginia area, again, there is the number. Hit me up, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email, anything that works for you. I'm talking to people all the time about this. If you're thinking about moving in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, hey, if you're just coming to visit and you're like, I don't really know if I'm going to move or not, that's fine. Or if you're moving and you're thinking I might rent, that's cool. If you're in the area, hit me up. I'd love to grab a cup of coffee with you and talk. Remember, rent is going up. Interest rates have climbed. Rent is climbing too. I heard the other day a stat about 20% higher than last year. I think that's the right number. And the interest on the rent you pay is always 100%. You're not getting it back. You're buying someone else's real estate. Someone once said that everyone's buying real estate. Some people are buying it for other people. So there are absolutely, definitely situations where renting makes sense. If you need help with that, you can also give me a call and we can talk about how I might be able to help you in your search for a rental. No charge to you. I don't get paid for that. I don't work with renters as far as getting any commission or professional fees, but I'd be happy to help you any way that I can. So again, text, phone call, email, hit me up. I'd love to talk to you. Until then, stay safe and keep smiling.